Welcome and thank you so much for joining us. I have got the honour and privilege of sitting with Dr. Caroline Casey, that's her former title, who is an award-winning social entrepreneur, an adventurer and a businesswoman. Now, her list of accolades are so long, but they include being a counsellor for One Young World, a young global leader of the World Economic Forum, TED speaker, a past advisor for the Clinton Global Initiative, and an unwavering campaigner. She's also my friend. Caroline took a life-changing decision at 28 to leave a successful career as a management consultant and travel across India on an elephant. We will talk about that a little bit later. Caroline's been committed to building a global movement on inclusive business to build an equal society for the 1 billion people in the world, and that is the right number, 1 billion people in the world who have a disability. So thank you so much for being here today in your crazy schedule.
Wow, it's so great to be here. For you, anything.
Oh, well, there is so much that I want to pack into our time together. But first, I have to congratulate you because you have recently completed a 1,000-kilometre trek through Colombia on horseback. So what on earth inspired you to go on this adventure, and what are you trying to achieve?
Well, the whole thing is, I came to meet you in February with this crazy plan, and you were like, are you serious? And it is a crazy plan. It's been something I've wanted to do for 10 years. In the TED Talk, it clearly says I have always wanted to be a cowgirl and Mowgli from the Jungle Book. So I had done the elephant trip. But I'd always wanted to be a cowgirl. But I also had this insatiable obsession to have a global campaign asking business to position disability equally on their business agenda. And I got this opportunity with One Young World to take main stage on the 6th of October of this year in Bogota. And I thought, well, no better time to merge two great ambitions. And what I wanted to do was, through this horse adventure, which is 1,000 kilometers from Cartagena to Bogota, and I did that for 4 weeks coming up to the 6th of October main stage, is to create a global conversation, to pinch the world for a moment, to make noise, to get momentum, to build a community, the first time to build a community, which is really challenging business to put disability equally on the global agenda. The campaign is called Valuable, and it's asking business to recognise the value and the worth of people with disabilities. And so by the time I got on the stage, I did not get a sore arse. I was delighted with myself. I rode horses and mules. We had 32 million people reached and saying, that community said, we agree, we want to make this happen, which, can I just tell you, is amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
But let's just talk about, how was the experience though? Because you didn't know how to horseback ride.
No, well, I've been on a horse before, like most of us have, but I certainly was not a skilled rider. And also because I am registered blind, and that's, that has its own sort of complications. But I loved it, Nicola. It was like, when you have a dream, and then what happens if it doesn't turn out to be what you wanted? I loved it, and I had a brilliant teacher and partner called Lucinda Watson. She's British. She'd been riding since the age of 3. So she was my eyes, but I was also with a whole lot of Colombian cowboys. And it was this incredible journey. It was a recreation of Simón Bolívar's journey from Cartagena to Bogotá, so it was very historic. But the Colombian people and that Colombian country, I am so fallen in love with it. It is beautiful, and I think it was a brilliant backdrop because of the change that Colombia is going through the peace process and its own identity. And they loved Valuable coming to Colombia. They were so proud, and we were so proud to be with them. So it was 32 days of hardcore riding, some very tricky situations, and there's some brilliant videos on Facebook where you can see some things that we've done. And I just hated leaving. Oh. I hate it. I want to own a horse. I definitely want to bring a horse home to Ireland.
But were you not scared that first time you got on the horse?
No. You see, and the cowboys had this whole thing. They had a bet on me, which they didn't tell me until the end. They were like, are you taking some form of sort of drugs or something because you have not had an ounce of pain? And for somebody who is not ridden, to go from doing nothing then to 7 hours a day, and pretty hot, pretty tricky situation, I never had any pain. It's because I so wanted to do it. I think I was high in endorphins because I was so happy. I was happy.
I just love your energy. I want to take you back. How did you actually start as a social entrepreneur and really focus on raising awareness about disability? Where did it all start?
Well, so I've referred to the fact that I'm registered severely visually impaired, or they say legally blind. I found out when I was 17 by accident. I was born with a rare condition called ocular albinism, as is my sister. I'm the elder one. But our parents decided not to make a deal of it. and to make us have the most normal life without labels. Hence, I went to a normal school with a pair of fake glasses and had no idea that I had a very severe eye condition. I found out that accident when I was 17 years old because I wanted to ride motorbikes and get a driving license. Found out that was not going to happen, and then decided, excuse me, I have absolutely no interest in having that label of disability. I hid it for 11 years. I ended up in Accenture as a management consultant. They had no idea that I was vision impaired either. And what happened to me basically was 2.5 years into the job, I had damaged my eyes very temporarily because I didn't ask for help. I came out of the closet. And in coming out of the closet, the disability closet, which was kind of hard because it was like the fraud strip there. They told me to take some time off just to let my eyes recover. And that's when I decided to do the big elephant trip and become Mowgli from the Jungle Book. And that is when I started to understand that I was one of a community of 1 billion people in the world with disability, and I started to understand the levels of exclusion and discrimination and marginalisation. And I was like, wow, I've been part of that because I didn't own my own. And that's a disgrace. And secondly, when I realised the levels of exclusion, I want to be part of the solution. And my obsession since that day has been that business is the solution. If business recognise the value and worth and include us as customers and suppliers and talent and members of the community, well then so will society. If business excludes, so will society. And there's a really strong business case to include 1 billion people and their family because we're worth 8 trillion. So I'm like, seriously, forget your charity, please empower us, see our potential, see our contribution, see what we have to offer you.
Couldn't agree more. Tell me about that elephant trek. What was going on?
You know what, the only thing that was a big problem on the elephant trek was that I had blonde hair, a big nose, and that I was a woman. My sight was not the issue because you can imagine it's not common for a visually impaired Irish blonde girl to go across India on an elephant, and I learned how to ride as a mahout, which is an elephant handler, the hard way. I mean, I sat bareback on an elephant for 4.5 months in searing heat. And like with Colombia, you know, I'm a really lucky woman. I've had, you know, I have 3 dreams: to be Mowgli from Jungle Book, to be a cowgirl, to be a motorbike rider. I've already achieved 2 of those and done a campaign. And every time you have a dream come true that seems so totally impossible, it doesn't matter if you're bitten by mosquitoes or monkeys steal your clothes or the elephant doesn't like you particularly too much. You just like, this is pure joy. And I owe India, as now I do Colombia. It's a huge transformative time in my life. It's a really big transitional point, and it's amazing how countries and people can change your life.
So I've absolutely no doubt that you will nail that 3rd one at some point.
Totally. Somebody's already offered. Actually, through Facebook, I got this brilliant offer from an American dude who drives motorbikes on salt plains, and he goes, I hear you want to do a motorbike, I'll take you. So like...
Sounds like your next adventure.
Yeah, but give me a few years. Okay. I need a few years.
Okay.
I need a few years.
So the valuable campaign and the previous initiatives that you've launched over the years have really had a shared focus of shifting how society as a whole perceives disabled people. Starting with your ask to businesses to put disability on the board agenda. How did you settle on business being the real catalyst for change?
Look, you're in business. And I think, and look, your new mission within Facebook is about building community for good, and you think about that. The reason I believe business is the absolute solution, I'm not saying it's the only one, because we need charity, we need government. And by the way, there are people, social entrepreneurs and innovators out there doing amazing work, and that cannot be, you can't not recognise that. However, a human rights report came out here in the UK in March and was saying in 20 years, the lives of people with disabilities and their families have not improved. In fact, it's gone backwards. And you've got to remember, you are 50% less likely to get a job if you have a disability. You are 50% more likely to experience poverty. You are 3 times less likely to get a qualification. In OECD countries, companies will pay the fine to not meet quotas on disability rather than try. Now, so that's a problem for me. So that we have a huge issue, but there's a huge opportunity here. So what I'm trying to say to business is, I don't think business is bad, but it's the most powerful force on the planet. Look what it's doing for poverty. Look what it's done for the environment. Look what it's doing. Look what Cheryl is talking about gender. When you put Sheryl Sandberg and Facebook behind gender, suddenly people are talking. We need leadership around disability in business, the opportunity that exists, which is return on brand, access to new markets, attraction and retention of best talent. Our millennials care more about inclusion than anybody else. And can I just tell you, people forget of 1 billion people in the world who have a disability, and that's before we're talking about the ageing demographic. 800 million, that's 80%, acquire it between the ages of 18 and 64. So people forget, they think disability is an otherness issue, a medical issue, a let's fix it issue. It's a human issue, and it can be anybody. Anybody listening right now can acquire a disability. Anybody. And disability is physical and sensory and learning and mental health. It's not just somebody who's vision impaired or in a wheelchair. It's all of us. And my challenge to business is we're all your consumers, we're all your suppliers, we're all your talent. And my big thing is where the greatest opportunity is in brand. So who's going to be the business leader? Who are going to be the brands that are going to stand up and say, you know what? We're the early adopters for business. Not because they feel sorry, not because it's worthy, but because they see the business sense in it, because it's about innovation.
So when you were in Colombia and you took the stage at One Young World, you had that historic moment as a global cause. What were you asking people to do there?
Yeah, so like, can I just say One Young World in Colombia was amazing. I was supposed to arrive into the opening ceremony on a horse. That didn't happen.
Why not?
Because they wouldn't let me ride my horse. The police were worried that it would bolt, so they put me on a police horse, and the police horse bolted. So I was like, so these amazing other councillors of One Young World, like, you know, Mohammed Yunus and Kofi Annan and Bob Geldof, you know, they with dignity walk upon the stage. I horse bolt and have to run up the centre of the stage like some mad lunatic. So my entry into One Young World was certainly, I made an impression. But on the stage, what I wanted to do was create this call to action, is for 500 companies in the world to put disability put on their board agenda before the end of 2018, okay? Because if we put it on the board agenda, you're going to have a conversation, right? And there's going to be leaders there, and you're going to do something with it. So I wanted it to go to leadership because I think the allies are valuable, our decision makers and leaders and the next generation. The second thing was my call to action was, well, where's Jeff Bezos? Because I want to find Jeff Bezos. He could help, but it was, I want to find those five global leaders who would stand with us. And that's when we had this incredible opportunity that somebody like Paul Polman came on the stage. Ronan Dunn, the CEO of Verizon, came on the stage. You know, this is big stuff when people like that will stand and say, I'll stand with you. And the next one is, I want to disrupt Davos. I want to have disability and business on a plenary stage in Davos. Because I'll tell you what, when it goes on a plenary stage in Davos, stuff happens. Look what happened in Davos with LGBTQ. That happens. Fortune 500 sit up, FTSE sit up. So I want to see that happen, and why can't we? And like when we have, and I'm going to say this, people like you, people like Reid Hoffman who helped fund this, people like Bill Vogie from Latham & Watkins, people like John Chambers from Cisco, people like Dan Brook from, you guys have made it happen because you're the people we want to talk to. And sometimes just even doing this, you don't even get how big this is because there's so few leaders from outside the disability community said, well, tell me, let's have a conversation. That's all I want.
So I always love your energy. How's the Valuable campaign going so far?
Well, it's so exciting because I'm not a celebrity, and you know we had absolutely no money, and I do want to recognise, thank you so much for the ad credits you gave us, but I got to tell you, we reached 32 million people in 5 weeks, and of that, I got to say, like, we had over 6 million impressions through Facebook and over 130,000 engagements. Mm-hmm. The reason our campaign was so successful, it was not me, it was not a horse. It's because actually, and I got to admit this, I never had a Facebook page before Valuable. Sorry, but I didn't, and I was useless, and I didn't even have Instagram. But I've learned through this journey that we were able to build a global community and a global conversation that has extended so much beyond what I had hoped for. Like, I was told, listen, if you get 15 million reach, you will be desperately happy. And if you get 10,000 engagements, you should be delighted because you're nothing. And now look what happened. And that's because we were able to have a really open and engaging conversation with everyone. So we have done exceptionally well. I'm now in planning phase 2. And phase 2 has to deliver those 500 companies with disability on their board agenda and 5 leaders and Davos by the end of January 2019. But when somebody like Paul Polman gets in touch with me after One Young World and says, Caroline, how can I help? suddenly that's a little bit different than it was, in January of this year. Because this was the hardest thing that I have ever done in my life. Hardest thing I've ever done. Best, but hardest.
Okay, so since you started campaigning 17 years ago, we seem to have made some progress in the way that society views disabled people. And I'm thinking about the London Olympics in particular. How far do you think we've come, and how much more do we need to do?
Look, we definitely have improved. There's no doubt, okay? Some countries in the world are better. And actually, there's, as I say, there is brilliant people in this space. Great experts working with business. We've got great organisations here in the UK, and they're all around the world. Great advocates like Deborah Rue, great leader. Susan Scott Parker's done great stuff. I can give you so many names. There's a lot of people working in the space. And we've improved, but it's kind of piecemeal. We're not seeing the collective energy that we've seen around other social issues, and that's because we don't have the leadership. So we're definitely seeing change, and I think the biggest change in the last 20 years is the digital revolution. The voice that we can hear of people with disabilities and their families through social media is now, it's ramping it up. So we're hearing the interest. But what I think is fascinating right now is when companies are starting to put disability into their inclusion agenda. That's good. Okay, that wasn't so much 20 years ago, but it's not getting enough resources or attention. But we are now seeing people with disabilities in key leadership positions. The Paralympics definitely helped. But what I want to do is now see, I kind of have this challenge, is there must be CEOs, global CEOs around the world who have a direct experience of disability or a family one. Come on, come out of the closet like I did. Can we not talk about this? So for me, the big change will happen when we start seeing people with disabilities who are openly and comfortably open to be there and sitting on boards, leadership positions in every industry in the world. Great marketing, some of the best marketing we've seen. Look, we saw the Mars Maltesers ads that Channel 4 did. That's when a CMO gets behind this, when branding gets it, you see a shift. But we've such a long way to go. It's such a long way to go.
Karen, there is no question you are an unbelievable inspiration, and actually it's my honour to be able to have this time with you today. You always inspire me and make me think differently. And it's inspiring to hear the work that you've done with Valuable, which started as a dream and you are absolutely making a reality. But you've sort of hinted at there's something next, so what's coming next?
You've got it's not a motorbike. So
okay, you're not going to do the motorbike.
No, motorbike. I think I might do that when I'm 50, and I just turned 46 a few days ago, so I have 4 more years to do that. I swore all I needed to do was make this happen, to ignite a global conversation, and then I should, because I've been doing, look, I'm middle-aged, like honestly, there's so much better, younger, smarter people to do this than me, and I'm like, really, I'll ignite it, and that'll be 18 years I've done this work, and it was the hardest thing. As I said, I had to put money up against, my husband and I had to put money against our house to make this happen. And my heart was broken with all the no's. Like, I talked to 53 companies to ask them to help me, and only 3 said yes. So, it was heartbreaking. However, I have amnesia, because when I'm sitting here seeing the potential of this and what we could do, because do you know what we might be able to achieve and the impact that we could create if we could get 500 companies to do it, and if we did get five leaders to do it, and if we did get to Davos? I can't give up. So I've been in London last week and this week to try and find strategic partners, to find leaders to talk to. And my heart's beating. It's amazing. You can't even hear it through the microphone going, am I going to launch phase 2 by the end of this month? And I really want to, and you can hear the emotion in my voice, because I think we really can. And if we could make so much happen, and I'm saying we here, not just me, over the last 9 months, well, what could we do to build on the momentum and the commitment of brave, dangerous dreamers who really want to change the world a bit? So, yeah, keep this space open. There should be some news in a few weeks' time, I hope, but it won't be involving a horse. Okay. Not for now. The one thing I would love to do is, I fell in love with a little criollo, which is a Colombian horse called Kogi, and he's 4. So I'm going to go visit him and do some riding just after New Year. But for now, I have to get off the horse and do the work on the ground. Okay.
So I'm going to finish with a Facebook tradition, which is something we call, you've heard about this. It's a quick fire round.
Oh, gosh.
And you don't overthink it, just say whichever one comes. All right, let's go for it. Tom Petty or Neil Young?
Neil Young.
Horse or elephant?
Oh, that's too cruel. No, both.
No, you got to choose.
Horse.
Ooh. Facebook or Instagram?
Ooh, Instagram, because I love visual.
I love your
visual.
energy.
I love the pictures in Instagram. I'm now a huge Instagram fan.
Game of Thrones or House of Cards?
House cards. Oh, but that could be bad saying that at the moment, but I still love house cards.
May or Macron?
Macron.
Running or yoga?
Running? I mean, I have a great Facebook running partner, Fiona Mullen. How could I not? She'd kill me if I didn't. I'm running with you tomorrow, Fiona.
Morning or night time?
Night, because I dream I can be anything I want in the world, but then morning because I get up with all the excitement. Night, I'll go night.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Hard work or lucky break?
It's hard work. Hard work creates the luck.
Thank you so much. Can't wait to see what you're going to do next. Thanks everyone for tuning in.